everyone, and welcome to another edition of Mrs. Cford Vlogs. I'm Stephanie Crawford, and I'm happy to have you with me as always. I know that for a lot of us, we either have come to the end of our school year at this point, or we're on the way there. And so you may not be thinking that this is a great time to jump into something new, but I think it's the perfect time. Great time to be looking ahead to how you can start your year with something different, a little bang. So let's talk about mystery elements. Mystery elements are super easy to add into your classroom, but I want to specifically talk about a couple things that you can do to add a little spice in your classroom and to be teaching a skill that maybe you've taught before in a new way. So the first thing that comes to mind is I had a 7th grade teacher who I put out on Twitter. I had seen an idea for a blind date with poetry, where this specific teacher had chosen, I think it had like different stations set up, and each station had like 5 poems. So there were actually a lot of poems. If I had done that with this 7th grade teacher who jumped at the opportunity, she said, sure, let's do this. And it was, again, a month before school was ending. If we had done it that way, if we had set it up the way that the original idea was, we would have had like 90 some poems. And I loved the honesty of this teacher. This teacher said to me, I don't love poetry. I kind of avoid it. I don't love teaching it. The kids don't love learning about it. And she said, I teach kind of the bare minimum that I have to, but I'm not in love with it. So if this gives me something that I'm excited about and the kids are excited about it, let's do it. So we jumped in and we modified this. So what we said was, let's have each student be at their own station. They're not going to rotate. Okay, now she had about 140 students in total between the two 7th grade ELA teachers. They both did it. So there's about 140 students. And what we did was each student would stay at their own date table in the classroom, which we themed as a restaurant. Plastic tablecloths from the dollar store. Another teacher brought in, she had vases and the flower arrangements from her wedding that she had saved, so we put those as centerpieces. Just created that kind of ambiance that it was this restaurant. We had the lights off and white Christmas lights around the room. This teacher did a fantastic job going along with this theme. But what we did was we narrowed it down. We said, here are, for instance, 5 poems. And each of those poems was laid out in front of the student, kind of in a fan, again, that fancy restaurant on top of the place setting. And each of those envelopes had a few words that the teacher wrote when she read those 5 poems that seemed to give an idea about what that mood might be or what that poem was about. So it's kind of that first impression. So I'm going to choose an envelope for my first date based off those first impression words. And then we gave a time limit, and you read through that poem. You had your date with that poem. And then we did that 4 more times. They chose a total of 4 poems. So we did it a total of 4 times. So I guess 3 more times, sorry. We did a total of 4 times. And then they had a rating sheet. And this rating sheet was something I just made in Google Drawings. I love Google Drawings. And you can do one and cater it to what you need also. But it was this way that the way that we presented the rating sheet was at the end in a bill portfolio folded, and we said and here's your bill for the evening, and it was this evaluation sheet. And they filled that out. And what we said in the beginning when we went through, so we started the lesson, she had picked a poem to read. What I loved was she was a little vulnerable. She said that, I don't always get this poem either. I get the first part. I don't necessarily get the second part, but I can make sense of it. I get the idea based on this first part and then carrying myself through. Then we read poems. So I read a poem, she read a poem. And then we were able to go into this idea of you don't have to love poetry. So at the end, when you have to rate your date, you don't have to suddenly love it and think poetry is the best thing ever. What you have to do is, I had 2 ways of looking at it. One for the optimist kids, the positive kids. Pick the one you liked best. But for those pessimist kids, that you have them. I told them, pick the one that you hate the least. That should be the one that you want to see again. It's all about making it approachable in that way too. Make sure that your students understand they don't have to love it. They just have to be able to find something to enjoy. And then after doing this and rotating through and then rating their dates, they were able to go on and have more lessons that looked deeper into the poems and then write their own poems. And she even threw in a poetry cafe where they performed at the end. She was so excited about this. She has said that she really enjoys poetry now from the teaching standpoint. Narrowing it down to 5 poems that she was able to wrap her head around made it easier to do this idea. It made it nice for the kids to have the same experience. And she did give a feedback. She made Google form where she asked for the student feedback, and it wasn't a biased form. It wasn't trying to lead towards loving this idea. She really asked the hard questions, and overwhelmingly the students said that they liked it and wanted to do it again, and it was positive. So when you think about that mystery element, you can put that mystery element into a lot of things. Take the idea of a mystery date in social studies. Let's say for a review, and this could be at the beginning of the year, think of people that they've studied before. Maybe they have to pinpoint a person that they've studied before, and they have to come up with a few facts about that person. And then you have a student who is like the one picking his mystery date or her mystery date. And you have 3 of your students that are on like the other side of a panel. And they give their clues towards who they are, and the person who is picking the date has to try to decide who in history they're dating, or who in history could potentially be their date. And this could be really fun because you are getting that review. You can correct things if you find that they're incorrect. You could ask the class, okay, what clue would have led you to that faster? What's something you might have said? And then you can also have students that are kind of rotating in for who is the one picking the date, and then have them again rotate in for the ones that are the mystery dates. You can do that in science too. You can have mystery elements, and they could have their facts about their element that someone is trying to pick which element it is. This can be a really fun way to get the class involved, to bring that mystery into it. It kind of is that game. Simple. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Even if you themed your room like we did for the blind date with poetry, dollar store, seeing if you can borrow things that other people have. It's really easy, it's really engaging, and it's really effective. If you already do some kind of mystery date or blind date in your subject or content area, please let us know in the comments. I would love to see that. And if you want to try it out, I would love for you to come check back in and tell us how it goes. I hope that you are having a great day, and thank you for joining me. And I hope to see you again next time on Mrs. Cford Vlogs.